He's Brian Billick, Fox Sports, NFL Network analyst. Let me start with a poll question here, Brian. The guy who makes you the most nervous in the first round?
Well, the quarterbacks have to make you nervous. I talked about it earlier because of the what it's going to cost you. You miss on a first-round quarterback. You sit here with Dan Patrick the day of a draft rather than sit in some facility because you cannot survive missing on a first-round quarterback. Now, we've got some really intriguing guys that could all be very good. Geno Smith, E.J. Emanuel, Matt Barr. There's no reason why they can't be good in the NFL. But it's a 50-50 crapshoot at best, and that's what's got people worried. So they're the biggest cost-benefit ratio guys.
I look at the quarterbacks. I look at Manti Te'o. There are some flags with him. I don't know if he can start in the NFL. He's going to get his chance there. Then you have Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah.
Honey Badger is a third-round pick. I mean, it's risk-reward there with him.
I always get a kick out of those that, from a character standpoint, saying, well, no, he's, we're not going to take him at such and such because the character is a concern. But if he's there in the third or fourth or fifth. So I guess character is on a sliding scale as to what I'll accept in terms of character. Manti Te'o, I think it's interesting because they say, well, he fell because of the off-the-field thing. I don't think Manti Te'o was really in a top 10, top 15 on anybody's board. I think that was kind of arbitrary, a media-driven thing. I think he has always been where he's going to be, which is probably in the mid-20s, late 20s someplace. He's got a lot of tape. He's a good, solid football player. He was never up in the top 10, top 15 that I know of with any club. So I don't know that the off-the-field thing has affected him that dramatically.
What would you tell him if you drafted Manti Te'o of going in the locker room that first day?
Well, I think he's got a real appreciation that it's changed for him. People are talking. I live in the Baltimore area, and for them to pick at 32, a Manti Te'o would be a good pick. I don't want Manti Te'o following Ray Lewis. I don't want any inside linebacker following Ray Lewis because that's not fair to the kid. When he goes in that room, it'll be interesting. I asked Kurt Warner this on set the other day when I was on the NFL Network, and he was absolutely right. Whoever drafts him, he'll be our guy. You know how it is. You better not say anything about it. Now we're going to rip it. We're going to rip him up one side, down the other. But you better not say anything. He'll become their guy, and they'll want to absorb him. He's just going to have to understand. I know what you were at Notre Dame. I know you have certain leadership qualities. That's going to have to come organically. Don't think you're going to walk into the locker room right away and all of a sudden now I'm going to be a leader on this team.
Is marijuana a big deal from a coaching perspective of drafting these guys? That guys who test positive. And you can get a bargain here, and guys who've, these teams have scooped them up there. Would marijuana use, testing positive, bother you?
We had Dion talk about it, and I was surprised it didn't get more play when he talked about it. What did he say? 80 or 90% of the guys in the NFL smoke marijuana. Interesting question. What happens in California if they legalize it? What does that do to the consequences within any industry when now you have it in a state that is legalized? So it's one of those tough questions. The Matthews and LSU, the fact that he used marijuana is less of a concern for me than the number of repeated offenses when this is going to cost you, and then you keep doing it. Any young player that you bring in, we're all young, we all did stupid stuff. So you got to get down to the fundamental question. Is this just a young guy doing young, stupid things? Or is this a question of character?
I think after he said he lost count of how many drug tests he failed.
Yeah, first you got to learn not to say stupid things like that.
Yeah, but it seems like he keeps getting in his own way here.
Yeah.
And he hasn't played football in over a year.
That would be my concern, that he doesn't seem, he's born again now and he understands. Well, now you put some money in this guy's pocket and you think this is going to change? Again, is this just being young and stupid, or is this part of his character that's got to concern you? He's
Brian Billick. He'll be working on the draft with Fox Sports, the NFL Network analyst, and joining us courtesy of Thursio.com.
Thursio, yeah. I keep telling you, the Nets would be big. The idea that you can get online, it's all upfront pricing, everything as a corporate outing. You can Tim Hardaway and Dominique Wilkins played in a pickup basketball game at the Final Four. Who wouldn't want to sit and talk draft with the Danettes?
Wow.
Put a price out there.
I wouldn't.
Well, it's to each his own. Or get the man hug that I saw earlier. Danettes give you Dan give you a man hug. The thing is, it's a pricing all up front. What you want to come into New York and have lunch with a Brian Billick and talk about the draft? It's direct access. That's what we're about now, all over the internet, and it's a great model. Thursio.com, better than 700 athletes and coaches, current and former.
Let's go down these quarterbacks here because I'm still amazed that there's no general consensus. How is it that guys who are paid to do this is their living, to analyze the draft, analyze quarterbacks, and it's still an inexact science here?
Because at that position, it is still, I don't care who you are, I don't care what your track record is, it's a 50-50 proposition. If we, amongst us right here, said, okay, let's come up each individually with the top 10 quarterbacks of all time, we'd probably come up with 15 different names, all right? And then I ask you, okay, what made your top 10, what made them so great? We'd talk about the quick release of a Dan Marino, the pocket presence of Joe Montana, the pure mechanics of a Troy Aikman or a Warren Moon. There's something different about each guy that made them special. Well, this group that we're talking about now, do they have that potential? Yeah. There's absolutely no reason why Geno Smith, E.J. Emanuel, Matt Barkley won't be good quarterbacks. But do they have that something special? And there is no way to quantify it until you get them.
How do you know somebody has a good work ethic? Who do you talk to? What's your research with that?
Well, that's a tough one because their definition of a work ethic versus yours, that's probably the biggest and the hardest thing to quantify until you get the guy. First, does he understand what that work ethic is? Oh, I want to work hard. I'm there for you, coach. Okay, but when you are there working, do you know how to focus? Do you know how to study? Are you capable of doing that? So that at the quarterback or any position for that matter, if you're going to miss on a first-round pick, very rarely do you get that first-round pick and go, boy, we didn't realize that guy was that small. We didn't realize he was that slow. Geez, is he really that weak? No, you know all that. Does he really understand? He's have the capability to understand how hard he has to work, how focused he has to be good at this level, and is he capable of that?
I look at Matt Barkley. If he came out after his junior year, consensus was he's a top 5 pick.
And I don't know I think what would have happened, like you do now, yeah, he could have been consensus that, but then once you start to crawl through every orifice of this guy's body like we do, he'd have fallen to where he is right now, just like a Geno Smith did right now. Yeah. The problem I have with Matt Barkley, and this has nothing to do with Matt Barkley, it's patently unfair. He looks like all the other SC quarterbacks to me, Matt Leinart, Mark Sanchez. That concerns me a little bit. And that's not fair. That's not a fair evaluation of him. But if I'm going to take Matt Barkley, I'll take him in the second round. But if I'm going to put a first-rounder on that, oh, boy.
Well, wait a minute. Explain that with these guys. I know that you had some decorated quarterbacks there, certainly with Leinart, Carson Palmer. Does he play like they play, or is it because guilt by association?
Guilt by association, okay. And he has the same pedigree. Well coached in high school, ready to play right when he comes in, surrounded by a lot of talent in a pro system, is in the big market. He has all the boxes are checked off, just like the other guys. And again, this is patently unfair to Matt Barkley. I'll apologize for that up front. But I tell you what, you make those kind of assessments because we're all, if not victims of our own experiences. There are certain schools, I won't share the schools because it's not fair, but there's certain schools. I know there's schools when I was with Ozzie Newsome, we aren't going to take a guy from that school because he had a predisposition, as I do with some certain schools, that I've had guys from those schools, and they just don't pan out. You got to break that down because you could miss on someone, but it's hard.
Okay, wait a minute. Explain that. Certain schools, whatever conference, but what if you found somebody who was a good guy, but he was at a school you didn't like?
That's the hard one because your experiences are schools tend to have certain personality traits because you tend to recruit the same type of personality kid, the same type of physical attributes. And when you have a school where you've taken that kid and you've been burned, he doesn't pan out. Then you come back to that school and you see the same set of attributes. It's hard to go, hey, I've been down this road. I'm not going to, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. But then all of a sudden you miss that great player. That's the hard one.
But you're saying there are certain schools that give kids a sense of entitlement?
It could be different
rock
things.
Stars
Sometimes it is, particularly the bigger schools. That they come in with the expectation because of the way they've been recruited. They're from a big school. Everybody from their mother on down, these guys can do no wrong. I'll give you, and not that I had a predisposition against it. I love Stanford guys. I coached at Stanford for 3 years. One of the toughest things that you have when you coach a kid at Stanford, his entire life, and including to when he has in college, is this kid's the golden child. This kid is fabulous. At some point, you've got to get it across the kid. You know what? The guy across the line of scrimmage to you, he's a pretty good guy too. He's a pretty tough kid too. His mother loves him too. You're going to have to earn this one.
What do you do if you're Rex Ryan? These 2 first-round draft picks.
Well, I think we're going to find out.
What would you do if you're the Jets with those 2 picks?
You know what? You clearly have a lot of needs. and we're going to find out who's in charge and what Rex say a couple days ago.
Well, who do you think's in charge?
Well, we're going to find out. It's a tough sequence now when you have a new general manager. You don't know what the conversations have been between Rex Ryan and Woody Johnson. I think we're going to be an indicator in the draft. What did Rex say in his news conference the other day? Don't worry, we're going to be good defensively. I promised that when I got here. We're going to see 2 defensive guys drafted. If we don't, and we see the offensive guys, we may have an indicator that maybe there's a different approach. He's in a tough position. He is, because anytime you get out of sync with that first-round draft choice at the quarterback, do they take a quarterback now on a coach that could be in jeopardy? We've seen that time and again. The model is a la John Harbaugh and Joe Flacco, Matt Ryan and Mike Smith. If you're going to go that route, you bring in the new coach, you take the quarterback, we go lock arm down the way. When it gets out of sync, the holdover coach, the holdover quarterback, we've seen it time and again, tends not to work well.
Yeah, it feels like a transitional phase for the Jets with Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez. Great to see you. It is Thuzio, THUZIO.com. He's Brian Billick from Fox Sports and the NFL Network. Thanks for stopping in, Brian.
Glad to do it.